Memorial Day, as you all know, is a time when we remember the men and women that went off to war and didn't return home. And that reflection and patriotism was on full display at the Northern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Fernley today. Paul Nelson was there and joins us with the story. Paul, boy, an emotional day for everyone in attendance.
It was, Kristen, and it's really a day that hits home for every generation, with veterans and families going out to remember those that gave up everything for this country. This Memorial Day ceremony is a solemn reminder that ordinary Americans have made extraordinary sacrifices, fighting and dying for our country.
It's never easy, and the unsung heroes of all of that are the wives, the widows, and the children who are left behind.
Veterans dating back to World War II came here in remembrance, along with many other men, women, and children.
Very emotional. Very tough to sit here and look at all the flags and just remember.
Governor Brian Sandoval was a keynote speaker at today's event.
I'm humbled by the enormous sacrifices that have been made by our military and their families.
We're honoring the dead, but we're also honoring the living right now, and we have to remember our troops.
Elvin Anderson and his mother are visiting the grave of his father, a Navy veteran of the Vietnam War and Desert Storm. He says everyone here shares a common bond.
What better way to celebrate everybody that you love than with other people? You don't even have to talk to the other people. You feel it.
Jesse Wagner's father served in the Korean War and is buried here beside his wife.
I think it's very important for family members and children to recognize and know that all that have fought for us are here.
While war veterans here are observing Memorial Day, they say they remember their fallen comrades every day.
I love my country, I love my family, I love my friends. Semper Fi to the friends that didn't come back with me.
And Governor Sandoval says he wants to make Nevada the most veteran-friendly state in the union, and his proposed budget includes plans for a veterans home in the Truckee Meadows. Covering the story live in the studio, Paul Nelson, Channel 2 News.
And thousands also gathered as taps played at Arlington National Cemetery today. President Obama laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknowns and spoke about the sacrifice so many Americans have made.
Each simple stone marker, arranged in perfect military precision, signifies the cost of our blessings. It is a debt we can never fully repay.
And also, the U.S. Post Office paid tribute to veterans today, unveiling a new stamp sheet that features 48 living Vietnam War vets and Medal of Honor recipients.
And Kristen, while we all take time this Memorial Day to reflect on those we have lost, it is also a time to reflect on those wounded in action and the loved ones who care for them. First Lady Michelle Obama recently honored those so-called hidden heroes, as some in Congress pushed legislation that would give them more support. Mark Albert has the story.
The past 3 years have been full of joy and heartbreak for Kathleen Causey. She gave birth to AJ, and her husband Aaron, a 12-year veteran of the Air Force and Army, returned from Afghanistan without his legs. The 36-year-old relies on his wife every day.
None of us would be in the position we're at if it wasn't for those people taking care of us. I'm trying to say thank you as much as I can, but it will never be enough.
Causey's life drastically changed just a year and a half after she said, "I do."
I would literally have nothing if he hadn't fought so hard to come home.
The vows are in sickness and in health.
Yeah, but living those vows 18 months into your marriage, that's really difficult for both of us.
The First Lady recently honored Causey and 70 other hidden heroes from across the country.
They're like extended family for me.
They were also celebrated during an interfaith reception on Capitol Hill. Former Senator Elizabeth Dole's foundation is pressing lawmakers to pass a bill giving hidden heroes more resources. Jessica Klein carried her husband Flip, wounded in Afghanistan, out of a fire that destroyed their Maryland home.
My husband was 32 when he was injured. This is a lifetime commitment, and the time is going to come when I also need help.
Klein is one of an estimated 5 million hidden heroes caring for America's wounded veterans. Mark Albert, CBS News, Washington.
And back here at home, Honor Flight Nevada held its third annual tribute to veterans this morning to raise money to take even more veterans to Washington, D.C. As Aaron Breen shows us, there were some differences, though, in this year's event including a new venue.
If you strike up the band and flip those flapjacks for the right reason, people will open their wallets to help you. Honor Flight Nevada proved that again this morning with its 3rd annual Memorial Day Pancake Breakfast. They moved to a new venue on Victorian Square in Sparks this year to accommodate a bigger crowd, and it was a hit.
Plenty of room, plenty of parking. It's a great venue to do this, and I hope they come year after year after year.
And this year, not only were they able to boost the number of tables and chairs at this event and get more people in, they'll also be able to boost the number of flights that they're going to take this year, thanks to a very generous local family. Bob and June Sebo donated $37,000 to finance an entire flight to Washington, D.C. They did it in the name of Ray Parks, a longtime friend, neighbor, and veteran.
My wife and I sponsored this flight in his honor. He was graduated from Coast Guard Academy and spent most all of his life in the Coast Guard.
Parks died before he could make the trip, but over the past 3 years, Honor Flight Nevada has taken more than 300 veterans back to Washington, D.C. as a long overdue thank you for their service. And for most who take that trip, it's actually a beginning.
I laughed and I cried, and of course I met a lot of other vets, and ever since then I've had more friends and activities than I'd ever had before.
We're trying to do 4 flights this year. We've got one done already, another one scheduled in June, and we're going to try to squeeze 2 more in by the end of the year.
And judging by today's turnout, they'll do at least that in the year ahead, too. Covering the story, Aaron Breen, Channel 2 News.